The rise of glam metal or hair metal, whatever you want to call it, mid 80s through the late 80s, very interesting thing happened. So 1981 we have MTV gets started, but then by 85 we have all these hair metal groups that are going on, really started by Motley Crue probably more than any other specific band, but then also the band we love to hate more than any other, Poison. Motley Crue, Poison, Warrant, Winger, Dokken, possibly Quiet Riot, they were a little earlier. Hair metal bands kind of took metal music and just made it into accessible MTV pop, and of course got all dressed up and used lots of makeup. I see lots of parallels between this style of music and what happened with disco in the late 70s. So a decade later we have hair metal, again fueled by cocaine, a very drug-fueled style of music. Disco music, very artificial, all dressed up, lots of makeup, lots of cocaine, basically collapsed under its own weight of artificiality. It was so artificial, it was such an escape mechanism that it seems like it just couldn't last. Very similar to what happened with hair metal, very artificial, very fake. We've got guys running around all dressed up in very effeminate clothes with lots of makeup, yet acting very macho, a real contradiction in terms. And very similarly to the way disco collapsed in the late 70s, hair metal, glam metal collapses in the late 80s. Please be sure you read the article below. Very good article. I really like this article. And the fellow talks about hair metal and how it's kind of lives on as nostalgia. And the case in point is, again, Motley Crue, who just won't seem to go away. And there's always this market for nostalgia groups. So what replaces hair metal? Of course, as you know, Nirvana comes along in 91, has their huge MTV hit with Teen Spirit from the Nevermind album, their second album. This was the Northwest United States, Seattle, Portland grunge movement, typified by bands such as Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. Some really good music. It wasn't really that much different. It was the same old rock and roll, just somewhat reinvented and really refreshed. Instead of a breath of fresh air, some people say a breath of refreshed air. So we've got some new rock and roll going on in the early 90s with the grunge movement, and many people say we're still in this grunge movement. It was the last real great rock revolution, although we've moved much more into a hip-hop era. So again, late 70s, we've got disco collapsing under its own artificial weight of platform shoes and cocaine. Then we move into the MTV era. In the late 80s, we have hair metal collapsing under its own weight of too much hairspray and horrible clothes. And then we have grunge metal, which was much more realistic, much more earthy, not nearly as escapist, sometimes a little too earthy, as we see in the Pearl Jam song Jeremy. I don't have it listed below, but please look up the lyrics. But please watch the videos for the three grunge bands. We have Nirvana, a different song, not the Teen Spirit song, but a different song, Heart-Shaped Box, which we don't hear as much, and also a great Pearl Jam live version of Even Flow, one of their first big hits, and last but not least, Alice in Chains, a video for Man in the Box. Again, grunge movement replaces hair metal in the 90s, and maybe we're still in the grunge era today. I think that's about it too. Don't know if I'll see you again this semester, so be good.